Okay, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to Play It Painted Live. Happy birthday to me. Starting the stream, doing our thing. You know how we roll. So, I am going to do some painting tonight. And for a change, we're not going to be painting Guild Ball tonight. I will show you actually what I am working on. And we'll just take it from there, man. So, anyway, here's what I'm working on tonight. I don't know how much of this I'll actually get finished, but I may actually be working a little bit later into the night as usual. These are teeny tiny little miniatures for one of my favorite board games of all time, Room 25. And this is actually Season 2. So some of these pieces, like the nerd here, might recognize or as being very similar from Season 1. That's because the 6 original characters from Season 1, here's the Doc, and they're back. And now there are 2 new characters. So this is Bruce. He's kind of like the crazy inmate guy. It's like he has like really black on the feet here. And I promise you, they're not that bad. They just look weird under that lighting. I guess they do kind of look too dark. This is, oh, I forget her name. The badass cop chick. Yeah, so tonight I'm going to be painting these. There's really not much to them. There's not a whole lot of detail. But I like, you know how I roll. I like to play it painted. So that's what I'm doing. All right. And because it's my birthday, I'm going to be eating sweets at the same time. So got a problem with the occasional crunch. Too bad. Happy birthday. Thank you, Tori, for the birthday wishes. Eat this little chocolate cookie. And we're going to get to work here. Start picking some colors. Going to be really basic in scheme. And I'm going to start from the light colors and work my way out. So we're going to be starting with and then we'll work onto there. So anyway, as we're getting started, I'm going to give you guys some announcements, some news, I suppose. This weekend, Memorial Day weekend, is not just my birthday. It is also time for Strategicon GameX. And this year at Strategicon GameX, so every year for my birthday, that's one of the things I do during my birthday weekend is I game, because that's what I like to do. And Strategicon is a perfect example for me to get away for, a day, maybe 2 days, and play some serious business games with my friends. This year being no exception. So this year we're coming in with, Guild Ball tournament. Well, first off, we have a Friday night demo with my man David Blood. You guys should definitely be a part of that because David, he's a great educator of the game, and you can learn a lot playing Dave. He's got extra teams. I've got extra teams. Kellen's got extra teams. So you guys can show up with nothing, learn the game, play a little bit, and borrow a team. So that's going on Friday night from about 6 p.m. We'll say till about midnight or so for casual games and just kind of game with the folks there. The other thing that is going on is Saturday morning, starting at 10 a.m., a Guild Ball tournament. This is the Play It Painted Cup, or as we like to call it, the Pip Cup. That's going on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. It is a 4-round, 16-player tournament. I don't think we're going to see that many. So So it's probably only going to be around a 3-round tournament, which is also fine with me because that means we can just play casual games and play other stuff afterwards. So I'm down with that too. Okay, so that's what's going on this immediate weekend. In addition to that, if you're down in San Diego, lots of Guild Ball going on. Dave is running the big league down there, so you may want to check that out. That's at East Games in San Diego. Up here in Orange County, I'm usually out and around either Thursday night or occasionally Tuesday night. Like I was actually out playing some Guild Ball last night with some friends down at Comic Quest, or you can catch me at Brookhurst Hobbies. If you're following me on social media, or more importantly, if you're on the SoCal Guild Ball page, I usually post there when I'm going to go gaming. So if you're looking for me, you're looking for a game, that's probably the most reliable place to find me, okay? Because my schedule does fluctuate. So a lot of times I will be posting where I'm gaming, where I'm playing in SoCal Guild Ball. Because, you know, I don't like to waste opportunities to game. I'm a dad. I've got a full-time career. I'm a husband. So, you know, when it's time to game, it's like I can't just be effing around, lounging, talking to the store staff. I shouldn't be buying. I can't be doing that anymore. So I have to be very clear about when and where I'm painting or gaming. And I can't, unfortunately, I can't, I don't have the scheduling things out really far in advance, unless we're talking conventions schedule, but nothing, not a whole lot beyond that. I'm just going to start painting here. And they should paint up pretty quick, I hope. There's not going to be a whole lot of detail on these guys. Just enough to enjoy our games with them. Girl's color, for example, is gray. That's her color. So I'm going to be sure to include some gray somewhere in her color scheme. But there's going to be like a bunch of details that I just sort of give a once over to. So the news for tonight, I may have Callan pop on in a little bit, and we can talk some Guild Ball, but I'll be honest with you, because it's my birthday, I don't really have an agenda, just here to chat away and get some of this painting done. All right. This guy's one of my favorite. He's Max the Colossus. Really cool piece. But yeah, we're gonna paint these quick. That's the only bit of that blue that goes on him. This is, shoot, I forget the name of this guy. Frank, I believe. Yeah, Frank is mostly a royal blue, but I'm going to do a royal blue and a white. So I'm going to base coat him mostly with this azure color, and I'll come back with facial blue or gray to do the white parts. Then I'll come in with a navy blue. So when I'm painting stuff like this, you know, you don't have a whole lot of room to around. So I treat the paints almost a little more like washes, and let them kind of on their own, and then So with the because bottom line, you're not going to be staring at these pieces too intently when you're playing these games. Worried about dying in these types of games. Now, the one thing that's cool about Room 25 Season 2 is I suspect that they improved the co-op mode. Co-op mode looks far more interesting now. So we're going to be doing, there's just going to be a whole lot of the color everywhere. If you're just tuning in, welcome to Play It Paint Live. Let us know what you're painting, what you should be painting. Tonight's episode is a happy birthday to me episode. As today is, in fact, my birthday. It's cool. I had a pretty relaxing birthday. Went into work today. Fairly uneventful. Came home and went to dinner with my family, my kid and my wife. Then we just kind of hung out and played for a little bit. And that's all I really wanted to do on my birthday proper, be with my family, have a nice relaxing day, kick on the camera, paint a few things. That's okay with me. At my age, that's okay. That's kind of what we want. It's weird. That's quote unquote the answer to the meaning of the universe. All I really want to do, play dinosaurs with my kid, sit around, watch a little TV, play Flip Frog with him, and then put him to bed and come here and paint with you guys. It's going to be like, full-blown nerd gaming weekend. So I'm excited about that as well. Oh, man. we're just gonna base coat these and kind of make them. Oh, you know what? I should not put any more of this blue on this model. No, I should not. In fact, I'm going to clean up there. Because this model's primary color is yellow, actually, and I don't want to paint blue under yellow. Those are conflicting colors, and it's not going to end well. The dock here, so actually, for him, I'm going to paint almost all of them this blue, azure blue, because that'll make life way easier for me. Doctor is one of my favorite characters to play too. Now, in Room 25 Season 2, the characters actually have names now, and they each have special abilities, which is really cool. And that's something that a lot of us folks that played Room 25 wanted to see was, you have all these cool looking characters, but they don't actually do anything. Can't stay, but happy birthday. See you in a few days. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, I'll see you Friday, actually. I plugged your Guild Ball event, so we'll see you there. And thanks again. So yeah, like I was saying, Room 25, you play, in the first season, you play 6 different characters. And but the thing is, in the first season, all their actions are the same. They all do the same stuff. The only reason why they're different is so that different players can identify one another, and that becomes especially important in suspicion mode. So yeah, that's season 1. So you're playing the mad scientist in season 1, for example, and wishing, oh man, I wish this mad scientist did something. Like I wish he actually interacted with the 25-room prison that is the point of that we're all trying to escape. And now, for example, this guy, the mad scientist, he does have a power and remove essentially do not cross areas. He can move into locked areas or restricted access areas, and then he can lock doors on his own too, which is a pretty strong power. Familiar with the Room 25 core mechanics. The ability to lock rooms is very fairly powerful. But that said, you know, I don't know if I don't know if this guy is the most powerful character yet. This guy here, the nerd, I forgot his name, but he's the nerd in the first season. I don't know what he is these days. He has a very powerful mechanic by which he can robots or program robots, and he can program robots from essentially any no matter where he is in the on the map. He can program robots, and that's super strong. Robots are a new thing in Room 25 Season 2. What robots can do is they can move and they can push, and that's all robots really do is move. And one, they're automatically going to do the other unless they can't do either of those actions. And you can shut them down, you can kill them, and then but they can come back too. Sometimes robots are very helpful. Sometimes they're very unhelpful. I guess that depends on who's in control of the robots and what mode you're playing, right? So if you're playing this nerd and you're playing co-op mode, well, obviously he's going to be super beneficial for his ability to control robots. However, if you're playing suspicion mode versus mode, the other team facing the nerd and his robots, that becomes a very scary proposition indeed. Okay, whoa. So now I'm gonna let all that azure dry, and we're gonna slap a few base coats on the robots here. So these robots are, I guess we're gonna make them steel, or better yet, let's actually do a kind of a gold color, right? So let's start with a reddish brown color to kick things off. Kind of a chocolate brown. That's a beige brown. This might work. Let's do this beige brown. Not quite. How about this? Let's do this heavy sienna. It's probably better color. All right. So heavy sienna here. Okay. So I am going to mix this up. And I think I'm going to invite, and we'll talk a little Guild Ball. Because why not, right? Let me just, since I've got this loaded, I'm going to slap this on. This brown serves as the, as the undercoat. So, you can see I'm going on pretty runny. My paint's pretty runny right now. That's fine because I'm just trying to get in these crevices here. Okay. And then once I'm done base coating this robot, oh man, I just screwed up my water on my palette. That's annoying. Mixing too close to that pot. So we'll let that dry. Let's get the other one. It seems like these robots are wearing jeans. These are really cool robots, though. Okay, looking pretty good. Okay, here we go. Try for a minute. I'm going to copy my Hangout info. Oof, man. Ate too much today. Okay. So let's throw Callan an invite. If you haven't done so already, you may want to sub to Callan's channel, Padocast on YouTube. Fun channel. He does a lot of video game stuff, and looks like he'll be doing some Guild Ball stuff. Right now, I'm going to work a little bit on these. Room 25 models. I use this like brownish as I can. So yeah, I'm going to keep these like really simple so that they'll paint up super fast, and then we can just enjoy them. Again, probably not the kind of sculpts that you want to spend too much time on. They're not horrible. They're just scale. It's I want to say this is like maybe 16 millimeter, 15 or 16 millimeter scale. So just give this model a big. So this is obviously he's in an orange prison suit. So I'm coming in with a color that you could use to undercoat orange. It's called red leather. And just actually using this to fill in all the little cracks and crevices on this model. Okay. But yeah, very much looking forward to playing some Room 25 again. I'm actually considering bringing, if I can finish this tonight, I'll bring it with me to Comic Quest tomorrow and see who wants to play. tried out this game. I highly recommend it for 6 players. Play 6 players Suspicion Mode Season 1. If you get hooked on that, then pick up Season 2. It does look awful, awful cool. We'll get a little bit of the hiccups. There's going to be a whole bunch of colors to be used tonight. Mine red. All right, got a little gory red as Max's. Oh, that's a really runny red. Make sure to really shake that up. Really runny red. I'm not even going to thin that. We're going to do Max's really ready red. He kind of reminds me of DJ from Super Street Fighter 2. Or Street Fighter 2, the World Warrior or whatever the one it's called, where they add Cammy and DJ and Thunderhawk and Fei Long, my favorite, basically Bruce Lee. DJ here is from Jamaica, I believe. Universe. Do that. There we go. A little red done there. And let's do a little purple. We're ready to move on to the next part of the white. So we're going to go wolf gray. And then we're going to apply a highlight of wolf gray. Whoa. Over most of these models. Whoa. And then we'll just kind of take it from there. Let me see if I can actually, if I should actually do a true dry brush. I don't think so. True dry brush may be too messy. So I'll do an overbrush. Everything seems really runny tonight. I don't know what the deal is. Moisture in the air? Could be. So just trying to do the white of the lab coat here. The layers of this gray. That. The nerd here is green, so he'll have a green, basically a green pair. But the top part probably going to be white or black. He has a weird computer thing up to his back. Yeah, my gray is just too thin. All right. Okay. It's actually a good color for the military chick. We'll keep there, it's a bit thicker now. Highlight with it. Yeah, do you think this character makes more sense if art is... Well, actually, it looks like he's wearing a jumpsuit, so maybe it does make the most sense to put him in actual solid green, or at least some kind of like solid. Oops. Get a little more paint on Emmett's lab coat here. There we go. Let's do here. Okay. Right. And we'll do her. This is going to be a little more like a traditional dry brush because this gray here really is... Oh, screwed up. This gray here really is more like her base color, opposed to being a precursor to white. She'll wear this as her base color. She'll wear a snow camo or something. Okay, there we go. This is moving along very quickly. That's what I want. I want these to move super quick so that we can paint them and be done with them, seal them up tomorrow, throw them in my car, take them out for gaming. Okay, last but not least, Mr. Frank. Okay. Just got super tired all of a sudden. All right. Okay, let's start working on some of these other colors here. So next up would be Jennifer's color here. They call her Bimbo or something in the other game. It's real messed up. So I'm going to go in with this as the undercoat. I wonder if I'm still on the air. No one's really talking right now, so. Well, maybe I'm not on the air. Which doesn't exactly bother me, but if there are people trying to watch and I'm just lagging out, I'd love to know that. Otherwise, I might actually, with it being this quiet, I might actually just cut my feed short. Because this is all just, honestly, this is just base coating. There's really nothing to be gained from a painting learning standpoint, other than maybe how to shortcut, like when you're working on a bunch of single, single piece plastic sculpts that you just want to finish and you want to look okay on the table. They don't need to look fantastic. Reasonably okay is fine. So this part will be yellow too. But the yellow ochre is, it really does cover. It covers really nicely. One of my favorite go-to colors. It's very versatile. Can do a lot with it. Really does. It's got good coverage. It's an inorganic yellow, and it makes it such that you can follow up and go in with those more exotic colors. And I'll show you how we're going to take this single color of hers and make it look like a few different colors without doing a whole lot to it. For now, let's let that dry. Okay. So now, who else is getting this treatment? Actually, we're gonna dry brush our robots. Okay, so let's have that brown on it, as you can tell. Well, yellow ochre on my dry brush. Make sure to get almost all of it off. Then we're just gonna gently go over the robot here and let the color kind of build on its own. It may take a few passes, the color that you want. And if you're going for more exaggeration, you probably don't want to dry brush. You probably want to manually highlight all the edges. We're going for quick and dirty, folks, so I'm itching to play this. Okay. See? Don't worry. He's going somewhere. He's going to be cool. Just got to trust the process, right? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, let's keep going with the base coats. You need a purple, like a good warlock purple. I'm actually gonna go with her. I'm gonna go a little bit lighter, so that I can use washes and inks and stuff. Thing to do when you've got detail this fine is go in with a lighter color than you normally would, and then hit it with an ink or a wash, and let that provide your shading. Now this sculpt here is actually quite good. This is the little girl. I forget her second season name. The little girl. She's secretly an android. And that's one of her rules. She's totally immune to the robots because she's secretly an android. Whether or not she's secretly an android working for the guards or just an android trying to escape.
Hello.
Oh, hey, Callan.
How's your birthday stream going?
All right, it's nice and quiet right now.
Oh, okay.
A couple people popped in, but other than that, it is very, very quiet right now.
What are you working on?
Am working on some board game pieces for a game called Room 25. And this is Room 25 Season 2. It's one of my favorite board games. Room 25 Season 1, I should say. It's one of my favorite board games. It kind of combines the trail mechanic from, say, the Resistance, and like Cube. So, you have prisoners trying to escape this deadly labyrinth of rooms, and among the prisoners, 2 of them are actually guards, and so the guards are trying to get the prisoners killed, and without getting themselves revealed. So it's a very fun game. It's about a half-hour game. Play 6 players, or at least in season 1. Season 2 looks like we're going up to 8 players, half an hour. So it's great. One of my favorites.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, I like good bite-sized games like that, and I think the trail mechanics are very, like, in vogue or whatever. Like, it's like with the success of like games like Resistance and One Night Ultimate Werewolf and all that kind of stuff. It's
right. Yeah, and I'm a miniatures buff, so this is like playing one of those games, but with miniatures.
Yeah. I've been attracted to a lot, like most of the games that I've kickstarted on Kickstarter recently were mainly out of like miniature love versus necessarily if the game would be good or not. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I think the game's going to be good, which is why I invested in it. But miniature
what games have you recently backed on Kickstarter?
Well, the most recent one I got was Mercs Recon, which is still coming to me. Like, I still have like another I think it's like 80 guys or something that are coming in the second wave of the shipment, which are all the other factions. Because I backed the different factions for it. I thought about the Dark Souls one, which I think was like brilliant timing by the Steamforge guys, and Dark Souls for like marketing it and like getting it out, and it made, I think it raised like 3 billion, or sorry, 3 million, not 3 billion, dear God, 3 million or something on Kickstarter, over that, maybe even 4 million. I don't actually know how it ended. And the miniatures looked great, but the gameplay actually didn't sell me. so I didn't end up backing it.
Mhm.
Plus, I've kind
I
of
uh
my thing with Kickstarter recently too has been that while I enjoy it, like the feeling of like I'm getting a deal and I'm backing something new and cool. I think the past few ones I've backed, because of the wait or like issues that have happened with them, I've been more inclined recently just to kind of wait till they come out, and if I really like them, then I'll
mhm,
get them then, and I don't care as much about the Kickstarter exclusive stuff, even though that stuff ends up being pretty cool. And like maybe for Guild Ball, since I actually it's a game I really enjoy, I would have liked some of those to be in on the Kickstarter, obviously, but I don't think every game ends up like that. And it's very easy
mhm.
to kind of, it's the same thing as like video games when you get the collector's edition and you're like, look at all this cool stuff I got. And then like, like a month or two later, then it's just like junk that's like filling your house. Like, and you paid,
Yeah.
$30 extra for the junk, like that's kind of how it feels sometimes with Kickstarter. So I tend to, I'm more discerning with my Kickstarter now these days. I haven't actually backed anything too recently, but I've had the urge,
Okay.
the strong urge.
Yeah, I was really on the fence with Dark Souls myself, and then I opted out of it mainly because I figure I want to paint the miniatures, but with the amount of people backing it, I'm sure someone will just pay me to paint the miniatures. I
Yeah.
don't necessarily need to own them.
Yeah.
I'll just wait, it'll show up on my desk eventually. Somebody will hire me to paint their Dark Souls. Um, so yeah, and I'm doing a little more to put away a little bit extra money. So just was bad timing for me.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
myself too. I'm working on my wife and I just got a house, so it hasn't closed escrow yet, so we're kind of saving up for that kind of stuff right now.
yeah,
I'm trying to be a little bit more stingy with where I spend my money on gaming, and luckily I already have all the Guild Ball stuff, or most of the Guild Ball stuff, so I'm pretty set there.
yeah. What? Oh shoot, that's not right. I screwed up. I'll fix it. So what for as far as stuff games that you've backed on Kickstarter? What would you say your most positive experience was, and what was your least positive experience backing a game on Kickstarter?
I'd say the most positive was Duelist, which was actually a video game that's still, I don't know if it's fully released yet or where it's at, but that was like the experience of getting a product pretty quickly. And even the interesting thing about the game too was they kind of shifted. Originally it was going to be like a buy, get everything in one box, but the game pretty much would die because most games that were kind of in that vein of a collectible CCG, that you got everything in the box, which was appealing to some people that backed it,
Mm-hmm.
but for the longevity of the game, probably not as strong. Um,
Yeah.
so so they shifted and then launched this game that like even though I was already on board with their original concept, the launch game was actually in some ways like even actually more appealing to me and better. And then I got really involved with it, and then became friends with the devs. And like the next thing I knew, like actually like they actually put a card of me in the game. And like I was like, this is like a
Nice.
really cool experience of like them being really receptive and the game being really solid and getting hands on a quality product early, and then through all the phases, and now it's pretty much going to launch. And so that's been like a really good experience. I think that like ideally Kickstarter should feel like that, where like you feel like you're part of the process of the game coming out and you're like an insider and you're actually supporting the game. And I don't know, that whole
Sure.
thing was great as far as like timelines and what they were delivering and stuff like that. And I would say like even Mercs Recon, even though they had issues with their manufacturer in China and they have to replace some models and it's taken forever, the game itself is actually really quality, and I've really enjoyed playing it. And I need to get back to it, although I've been focusing a lot more of my time on Guild Ball, and I've actually been enjoying being more focused on my gaming. Where before, as a miniatures gamer, I actually had a lot of miniatures games. I still have 40K stuff back home, and like armies of stuff. But I've kind of consolidated down to like I'm just going to focus on Guild Ball and do that, and hopefully it keeps being successful. And hopefully LA gets
Yeah.
going soon. I'm hoping that because a lot of people at my local store haven't fully taken the plunge. There's still like there's some players, but a lot of them actually, when I've been talking to him, have mentioned Strategicon and GameX and that kind of stuff, and have been like, "Oh, hey, like this is I heard that there's gonna be demos there, and I'm really excited to play it." So hopefully, we get a lot of people out there on Friday, and hopefully people on Saturday as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah, I hear what you're saying about focusing in. I mean, before Guild Ball, it was very common for me to bring 4 different miniature games on the nights that I would game with my friends, and since then, and then it went down to 2. You know, it was essentially no, it went from 4. Then Guild Ball came in. Then it immediately went down to 3, so that we have some more time to play Guild Ball. And then finally 2, and now it's, I'd say in the last week or so that I've been gaming, I've only taken Guild Ball, which is very, very unusual for me. Like one of my other favorite games is Relic Knights.
Yeah.
And I didn't bring it with me the past couple of weeks because it's like, okay, well, we'll get back to playing that because it's one of my favorite miniature games, but I really want to play more Guild Ball. And same thing with Orange County, trying to get a little more excitement around the game. It's been a logistical issue for me to find a more consistent night, and space in Orange County is crazy. Like space at the hobby store. Consistent space has been really tough. And so when you don't have consistent space in these game stores where you have like a dominance of like GW, X-Wing, those things, those guys will show up in force, and they can, and whether intentionally or not, they can actually crowd you out of a store when you're trying to grow. You're trying to grow new players. So it's been challenging, but we do have some players down here, and just trying to get it that player base up and hopefully more stable.
Yeah, that's always the goal. But I think actually I got to play Relic Knights with you, obviously at Kingdom Con, and I would say that is probably one of the games that's actually intrigued me a lot recently out of a lot of miniature games I've played, because I feel like it's actually very approachable. Like the fact that, I mean, I've played a lot of miniature games, so it helps, but the fact that really quickly you could give me the rules and the system was like that easy to pick up, and the minis were cool, the themes were cool. I think it's actually probably one of the most compelling games that if I was like, hey, I just wanted to like dabble in another game, it might actually be Relic Knights, just because I don't know, I enjoyed that experience a lot, playing with you guys.
Yeah, the one thing that Corey likes to bring up about Relic Knights is it's the perfect game to play when the dice have given up on you.
Yeah,
and you're tired.
Yeah,
you're tired of bad dice rolling. Well, because it's so much more resource management that it's more and he's right. It actually is more reliable in terms of saving up your Esper for your attacks and defenses and stuff. So so we used to I would almost always carry it with me for that, and also because it plays well more multiplayer, and then and the games are fast, and that's a big thing too. And there are some games that a lot of bandwidth, and those are the games that that veteran miniature gamers will flock to, because that's the experience they want. They want this big deep dive into the game. They want to obsess over the game. They want to continue to collect it, and then when they're playing the games, they want, for an evening, they would rather have 1 or 2 games of their quote unquote main system. Lots of faster game experiences. So a lot of the veteran guys will pick we'll just call it a main system. A 90-minute game is that does occupy a lot of their gaming time and even their off gaming time. Crafting, theory crafting, looking on forums, that kind of thing. And Guild Ball to me would fall in that category. It's despite the fact that it's to be a lifestyle convenient game because of what I'll call perfect information on the cards. And most of your time playing Guild Ball is really spent a few models and then also enjoying playing the game. That said, it's still a main system in that a big chunk of your gaming time and experience. So you might put Guild Ball in there. You might put W games. Warhammer Hordes. That's another one that is going to eat up a lot of your bandwidth. Infinity eats up a lot of your bandwidth. So really, on those games, you ideally want to have one or maybe two type of games that really obsess about those are your main games. Then you can have like the side games like Relic Knights. I would consider it's a game that does not eat up, so you can always kind of keep it on the side there. You can easier because it's so quick to just put together an army. And it's a little bit harder to put together this super all-powerful list because most of the time you're winning the game off of basic actions. So there's games like that. There's games like Relic Knights. Even a game like Wrath of Kings, scale skirmish game, I would consider a side game because, again, the games are faster. You're dealing with perfect information on the cards. There's not a whole lot to memorize. And for that game isn't very extensive. There's only a limited amount of units and stuff that you can take, and there are very strict guidelines on how to compose a force. So yeah, Wrath of the Kings would fit in as more of like a side game. And that's just kind of my personal take on it. It's like if you're gonna play Infinity, have a second main game, but that's gonna be about it.
Makes sense. Yeah, Guild Ball's my main game.
Yep. But yeah, so we played some games last night. It taught the guys that showed up were guys that have only been playing the half games.
Yeah.
Miniature gamers. So we moved them up to the full games and wanted to show them a little bit more. And it was like one hit, one miss. Guy that I demoed about a month ago, he came back and he wanted to play full game. And he played a full game with Mark and really enjoyed it. So he's pretty much in at this point. He's going to be playing Brewers. Oh, shit, what up? Well, hey, what's up, Cameron? So he had a good time. One of the other guys had a good time. One of the guys was kind of lukewarm about it. And he said something that I've heard before, and I wanted to get your take on it.
Yeah.
Because I heard this before it's not really a criticism of the game. It's sort of here's why I'm not willing to jump to the game, right? And it came from an Infinity player, and the guy that last night he's leaning more towards Infinity than this game. And this isn't about this part of the conversation for you guys watching. This isn't about Guild Ball versus Infinity. This is just about, I'm just throwing that in because that's kind of their background. So if you know both games, then maybe you'll have a little insight on this discussion. But anyway, one of the things I've heard from our local Infinity players is that Guild Ball is too competitive for their personal taste, right? And so yeah, so they're playing Infinity, and they're like, yeah, Guild Ball's okay, but it's rubbing me as being too competitive, and I wanted to get your opinion on that. I don't even know if you play Infinity or not, so or if that even matters.
So I actually don't play. There was a point where I was gonna kind of get into it very early in the game's life cycle, and my group of friends never really did.
Mm-hmm.
I find that part of the fun of miniature games to me is partly the competitive aspect. I think the hobby aspect is intriguing to me. Like I enjoy painting the models and stuff like that. But ultimately, like the same reason like I love competitive video games or team sports or any kind of that kind of thing is like competition is fun to me. So I guess I guess I would have to know Infinity more to know the differences in like competitive level because I mean, at Kingdom Con, there was still like a Infinity tournament, and I think that maybe
Mm-hmm.
Guild Ball is a little bit. Uh, like there's not like a fantasy world where you're like the premise is a sport, which naturally is competitive, and it's very
Yeah.
clear that you're scoring goals and the points. Like there's the scoreboard where Infinity you can more wrap your head around. I imagine that like a scenario and role play it and like just kind of have a fun game where it's not in your face that like there's a scoreboard like you're playing to win. It's like a sport, that kind of thing. So maybe that's where
Mm-hmm.
part of it's coming from of what I could think. That said, like I
Okay.
actually enjoy how fun the thing that came up the other last night when we had our Guild Ball night at Riot uh was that one of the players said is like the reason I actually enjoy Guild Ball is that I actually have a lot of fun when I'm losing. Like that like it's not just when I win, it's like when I lose, I'm still having fun, which other miniature games I don't get that from. Like you think of some of those games where it's like, especially the games that are very much like big army games where like you're losing tons of crap for like for a long period of time, you don't really get to do anything, and like that kind of sucks. Or like War Machine, like you get the caster assassination out of nowhere when like you thought the game was like won, or like some like cheese thing or something like that. Where Guild Ball is very much like you pretty much as long as you don't have I like as long as you don't have a quitting mentality, it's like you're kind of always in the game at certain points. Like the game has mechanics, especially with how fast players can come back on and certain ones can contribute. Like the one that sticks out in my mind is like fish. Like fish,
Mm-hmm.
like you could give up very easily if things don't go well early. But in reality, it's like even if your the fisherman players die, they're really fast. They have great kick stats and you don't need them to go kill anybody. You just need them to be fast enough to take a ball and shoot a goal 3 times. So like if you can do that, like even if you're like behind in points or it feels that way, you can come back and win really quickly. Or surprise people. It's like they come on, you shoot a goal, you get a snapshot, all of a sudden you've like won the game from 4 to 8 or 10 or something like that, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's kind of the fun of Guild Ball. So like when people say it's too competitive, I also think there's a side of it where I'm like, I actually just have fun. Like even when I play fun teams, like
Yeah.
it's I don't know, like all the
Okay.
Fury.
So me personally, yeah, I consider myself to not be a competitive player.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I, I'd say I went away from that and kind of never look back. And so with all the other game systems, is kind of intentionally not looking stuff. Didn't really push myself on the tournament scenes on any. Uh, and then the one exception I would say would be Blood Bowl. Bowl when you're playing, you may not take your uh, but when you get to when you kind of amp it up, and just like you said, it's a sports game in territory of you know. So when I started playing Guild Ball, I felt more exploring the competitive aspect of this game. Save for it's from the aspect of, oh, well, this isn't I expecting to play for contest and not necessarily like themed. Like I actually did with my season 2. I'm trying to keep season 1 and season 2 rosters specifically separate, so that they, at the same time, you can't really like do the fluffy list and play the. You're still trying to. So I felt more comfortable with this competitive game because that's what it screams, and that's where the game really lies.
Yeah.
Is trying to play the good game, but at the same time, that's not to be confused with like poor sporting and D-bag or anything like that. And frankly, what I've seen so far playing Guild Ball is running these tournaments and playing a bunch of people in the region is, yeah, we've gotten some really intense games, a bunch of intense games. The Kingdom Come. In my mind, am I thinking, wow, these guys are really, or wow, that jerk. I'm like that yet, and that's not to say that I won't. It is a competitive. You might see more of that. It just so with coming from Infinity player, there's two things that strike me odd about that statement. Infinity is, yes, it's a fluffier game, but Infinity has never about being a competitive game. I mean, they have a nice ranking. They have a very developed component. That's part one of why it's weird. The other part is it's list. So when somebody tells me Guild Ball more competitive and they're playing a game that actually allows list building, min maxing, that kind of stuff, it seems to me that you can do more or more you can put together games that are far less balanced with the two craft lists and change war gear and that kind of stuff. And just let me know if that's, I don't know. I'm just going to leave it there. I was kind of rambling for a while, but that's kind of what I was trying to say.
No, I can see what you're saying. I think one of the good things about Guild Ball that I've experienced so far is the game is fairly balanced. I would say that it's less likely that in Guild Ball, like when I played Warhammer 40K, that I'm going to run into like cheese and there's no arm race by the company to like make OP models essentially or kind of release them. And if anything, I feel like having talked to the Steamforged guys, the encouraging thing is that they really leverage like Tiebreak and some of these like third-party sites that are taking and extrapolating a lot of data on like what models are being played and what factions are winning, and looking at those percentages and actively play testing to see like, hey, is there actually an issue here if certain team is winning too much, or like what's the actual win rate, or like if we cut off like because I think the thing with Guild Ball to keep in mind too, and one of the things I do love about it is that the game scales with skill. So it's like I have a lot of factions, but when I transfer factions, I'm still fairly competitive on factions I haven't played a lot, which is cool. But you can also see like in the game that like if they just kind of like take the top players and like the bottom players and like kind of like cut those like the outliers off, like that the rest of it's actually like, I mean, the very like like 1%, those kind of people, like the game is actually very, very balanced, like in like the kind of mid regions, which is really a good sign for a miniatures game and how open their system is. Because one of the one of the issues with a lot of games where you get into the list building and you need like a program to like calculate all the points, and like you can kind of come up with these like really big cheese lists or like leverage something in the game they weren't thinking about. There's so many moving parts, but they just said like, hey, we're gonna give you captain, mascot, and then 4 dudes, and they could be any dudes you want. No points, just make the list, which is awesome to me. But also the fact that that's balanced too is actually really good, because like it is potentially troublesome when like there's no points and like a model is just a slot, right? So it's like if a model's really OP and you can just keep slotting it in, then it can become a problem really quickly. So I think there's like still some. I mean, obviously there's balance tweaks and you want to be careful with that because of printing cards and all that stuff. But I think they have a very good approach to keeping it balanced, which in any competitive game, which a lot of miniature games can be, and like you said, Guild Ball and some games that are like basically enforce it in a way, or like scream it. It's good. It's good that it's balanced, because that's one of the things that's going to keep me around. Because when a competitive game is unbalanced, then that's definitely the point where you will churn a lot of people out very quickly, because like X faction is really cheesy and like OP or something like that, and like it's just not fun to play them. Which some days I feel like that's Morticians, but in Guild Ball, just because they're kind of like their mechanics are to be the not fun faction, but at the same time playing against them, I haven't got to play myself because it's impossible, but when I've got to play against Morticians, I've had a fun time trying to unravel and fight through their control and that kind of stuff. So I think it really depends, but I think for new players it's probably the faction that's least fun to play against.
Do you think, now here's I haven't heard this criticism about Guild Ball, but you were talking a little bit about the idea that Guild Ball is this well-balanced game, and and that it transfers well across skill base. So I heard of from another game that appears to be fairly well balanced is, the fact that the better player will win. And so you can kind of like the dice system in Guild Ball is more of a negative control than a positive one. What I mean there is that those where dice have completely gone off the rail down, you're not necessarily when they're spiking in your favor. Like Guild Ball, there's a lot to the idea that player is going to win each of the time over the less skilled player, just because the better player, even if their dice aren't if their dice are average or even below average, will be playing and maneuvering better than the other player. Criticism, I don't really know. I mean, I almost think that that's a good thing. That the more skilled player, when they want to win, is going to be winning more. Isn't that coming now? What do you think?
So as I understand, you're saying like the complaint is that like the better player is going to win like more often. That seems like the goal of most competitive games. Like the goal of most
Yes.
the goal of most games is like if you've put in the time to play well, then you should be rewarded by like you then do well and you can win a higher percentage of your games. Like that's actually like a good thing, in my opinion, not a negative thing. I think they're like you said.
I don't quite understand.
What?
Oh, sorry, I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought I heard. I thought so. I kind of lost my train of thought now. But so anyways, like I think it's a positive thing, and I think that I think there are aspects of the game, like you said, like dice can go bad, but again, if you position yourself better or like and you use your momentum wisely, that kind of stuff, you can mitigate a little bit of it to even if your dice are going poorly. Like I've had games where that's happened, or like you miss like 4 dice goals or whatever like that when you're like why did that miss, which could be a big thing, but like you can still kind of fight your way back. And that I think
Mhm.
the other piece of that is how I was getting back to earlier, like the game is still fun if you lose. So like yes, in a tournament, like when you're playing at a high level, like chances are like RNG is less going to screw you over, which is a good thing. And then likewise, like when you're playing a casual or fun game, or even in a tournament, like when you have those close games, like when at Kingdom Con when we were doing the championship, I just sat there with Matt and we just sat there and talked about how like we were just like that was a really good game. We were talking about all the different aspects of the game, and like there's like no animosity. We were just both excited that we played like a really great game of Guild Ball, and I think that's again like kind of the goal of what you want in a miniatures game is you want
Sure.
to have those stories and those moments, and like even when you lose, you feel like man, what a great game that was. This is why this game is good. And I think that's actually what came
Mhm.
out of my mouth too. I was like, this is why this game is good, is because like you can have games like that in really intense situations, and both players are like excited about the outcome either way. And we had lots of games where it's like really intense, like 12, 11 clocking out all the time, that kind of stuff. So it's indicative of a good system.
I will say this about ball that has been different. Um, like I said, I was at one point I considered myself to be a competitive 4K player,
Yeah.
and but like we wouldn't do what you just did. Like we wouldn't do that. If we played we had some intense games or whatever, and then the game was over, the winners decided or whatever. We wouldn't hang out and talk about it afterwards because it would be like, oh well, he knows my list, he knows what I take. That's again, this goes back to list building. It's like what the other guy tells you is faction, and you already have an idea of 60 to 70% bringing and what he's capable of just by him telling you his faction.
Yeah.
So when your game, it isn't necessarily I'm gonna hide taking. And when you're and this is me too. I was talking to somebody else about this today. The good events and decisions and plays. You're not talking about I had this in my list, you had that, and that's why next game take X, Y, and Z. But well, I had the chance to kick the goal or take out the model. I think that was a bad call. So yeah, it's like you're talking more about game, list building or power skills. We're like frozen.
Yeah, you
Here.
broke up a little bit on my end.
Missed the whole.
The internet hates us today.
Might be a bad night for the. I don't know if you heard my. Wow, this is really breaking up pretty bad.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. We still have 4 people with us. They're enjoying.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but yeah, the other part about Guild Ball that I like is that it's very much like a game where I'm constantly learning and leveling up every time. And even so, like I was riding the high of Kingdom Con. I played a bunch of games afterwards, and I was in the phase where I was like really like still riding the competitive drive high, and I was basically winning like most of the games I was playing like 12-0, 12-2, and so there was a kind of a point where I was like, it's like, have I kind of figured out this team, and then I'm switching teams and I'm still being successful, and I'm like, well, like, what is like, is there like, is this kind of it, or like, I don't know. I was like, where do I find like, people that can push me more? And then like the other night, I'm playing a guy that I taught him how to play the game. He played Masons before. Like I, would beat him pretty fairly convincingly, but like I was teaching him along the way. And then I hadn't played him in a long time, and he comes back and he's playing Brewers, and the game is like a nail biting like 12-10 game, and I like barely win, and I'm like, and I learned a ton that game. About model choice and all kind of stuff. And I think the cool part is that I still kind of do learn. I learn a lot like game to game, and like even when I feel like I'm like, okay, like I got this everything locked down, like there'll be some aspect of the game where I'm like, oh my god, like here's this new optimization or thing I should be doing better, or like I don't know. I kind of like one of my renaissances was the push renaissance, where I realized how good pushes were, and I started prioritizing it more in my playbook results and stuff like that, and like getting a lot more value out of it. But yeah, there's still like the cool part about it is like it's this competitive and fun game, but there's like so many aspects that keep like being like aha moments, or models I haven't tried, or teams I haven't tried, or people I haven't played against that surprised me. So yeah, I'm still excited to play the game a lot, and I'm excited about all the new models coming out, and I can't wait to play some other teams too. I still don't actually know what I'm going to play on Saturday. I actually haven't picked a team yet, even. But I think I'm also going to gauge the field and like what the atmosphere of the tournament is, and then I'll probably decide after that.
Sure.
But I've been playing a lot of Scalpel lately, and I actually really like Scalpel.
Yeah.
But I've also played a lot of Morticians, so I'm thinking about maybe branching out and playing another team competitively to get a feel for them in tournaments.
Cameron says, I have 0 skill and have yet to win a game, but I still yearn for more games. Good.
See, that's what you want, man. You want those people too. Like I was actually another guy in the group the other night got his first win, which was pretty big because the entire time, like like we have like lunches at work together, and he's been asking me because he's also been playing he picked up like Morticians as starting faction 2, and so he's been asking me for advice all through, and like he was having some rough games, and like the previous Guild Ball night we had, he got like drubbed like 12-2. And so like, it's like it was kind of like the new thing. It's like, dude, like we need to get you your first win. And so then the other night he had an awesome game against Fisherman and won his first game. And so super excited about that. But yeah, it's like, it's exciting I mean, part of the aspect of this game too, I like is like teaching people, and I like the demoing aspect of it and getting people to like see the game and be like, oh, what is this? And then, kind of basically get to transfer my excitement about the game to them, and seeing them light up when they realize like what the game is. Like I've even had people at work recently, like the two nights ago, they came in and they like just sat down and watched us play a turn. And because they were like, oh, I've heard a lot about this game. What's it about? So I was like, do you want to play? And he's like, no, I just like want to watch a turn. And I like just did like we did like a full rotation. And then he was like, I'm sold. I'm gonna go buy a team right now. Like, because he was like, oh, this like gameplay is exactly kind of what I was looking for and hoping for, right? Like, and it was kind of like he had to see it in action. And when he saw it in action, it was also kind of a perfect display of like the strategy and tactics of it. And yeah, it was really cool. So yeah, the game is a pretty special miniatures game from a lot of stuff I've played, and I've played a lot of miniature games for a long time.
Do you like when you're doing a game demo? Let's say you're playing against somebody who's already fairly experienced at miniature games. Do you have to play it, or do you like show them, how to put it quick, or how to somebody up for a takedown in order to show them, okay, here's like what teams are capable of doing during a demo? Or do you pull it back and say, okay, let the guy kind of experiment a little bit, let him feel around before you unload on the guy?
So if anything, I think that the only bad thing I've ever done recently with a demo was I had like a time limit and it was like a 6v6 game, and I realized I had a time limit, so I wanted to the guy wanted to play a game, and I was like, okay, and so I did fish, and like I won really quickly, and then I felt bad because it probably felt like a terrible experience to just because if fish do the scoring game and it goes well, it just like feels shitty. It's like what I didn't get to do anything. They just like took the ball, ran around me, and scored. So that's probably the worst I felt. But otherwise, like for experienced gamers, usually it's like, especially for the 3v3 demos, like it's usually pretty like they'll like be locked into the stats, especially former War Machine players. Like they pick it up like nothing. It's pretty impressive. And usually, I'll usually what I do is I usually end up playing fish. People usually tend to gravitate towards butchers, and I'll actually score on them really early. I'll be like, and just to show them like, here's how like you can use the playbook really effectively, and then essentially they usually take that back and then like start beating the crap out of me and usually beat me in a lot of cases. But it's kind of more like I shock them with like what is possible, and then the light bulb clicks in their head, and they're like, "Oh, cool." For inexperienced players, I take it a lot more slowly, and usually I try to. It depends. I try to pair new players like to demo two new people at the same time to kind of like figure it out together. Sometimes it depends though, because if they want a quicker experience, if someone's looking for a quicker game, I find it's a lot better for it to have me play against them, because I can kind of walk them through the first turns, because there's that awkward phase when you have new players where they're both like, so is moving good? Is kicking the ball good? I don't know what to do. Like that kind of thing, where if like it's kind of like I can kind of show them example of like, here's like a one activation or a turn or I pass the ball or something. One of the things I've been toying around with though is like almost like, instead of doing kind of the typical demo that they have built out necessarily, I kind of almost want to do like a pregame like tutorial, like kind of games have, is like have like 3 models and be like, have these models all pass to each other successfully, and then have them roll and kind of build that mechanic, and like go and charge and kill this model or whatever, and then like they can kind of get a feel of what that is, and then put them into the 3v3 game and say like, now do whatever you want, like essentially, or like do whatever you want to win essentially, and have them do that, right? Because I think that also is a good way to show them the mechanics, and then in like a less confrontational way, where it's like it's a little bit more hectic for newer players, and then maybe that'll work. I still haven't tried that yet, but I plan to do that next fresh person I demo with.
That would probably work pretty well if you have if you can work within their time frame, like if they have an hour to play or something, then you could you could do a little tutorial, or if you did a tutorial on passing the ball and stacking influence and stuff like that.
Yeah, when I do 66 games, though, I've recently been trying to, like, I always ask the question, it's like, do you want me to like go really hard against you, or do you want me to like to basically like hold back a bit, or like, or do you want to play a casual game, or do you want me to like go guns blazing? So that, like, which way do you prefer to learn, right? Basically, it's like, do you want me to show you the game, or do you want me to like, and so that's usually the first question when I'm playing a 6v6, because that'll drastically change the outcome and experience. But depending on the person, like, you may learn way better by having like someone play, like, show you what everything is capable of, versus like doing like kind of like dragging the game out, if you will, in certain ways. But usually I also try to teams that are not as strong in those matchups.
I was going to ask, what's your game personally? What do you prefer? Do you prefer guns blazing, or do you want to feel around a little bit before applying the pressure?
I want to see how the sports car handles. I want you to show me how to like show me what the car is capable of, so that I know that like what I can be capable of, essentially. So yeah, I say go full guns blazing at me is usually what I say. Like, again, my first 66 game was a dude handing me his team and saying like, you're gonna play, and I'd never had played timed Guild Ball before. I'd never played a 66 Guild Ball game before. I'd never played Fisherman, but I played, and it was fun. And it was a great learning experience, and it sold me even more on the game that my decision was a good decision. So that's kind of more where I lie. Again, because I've been kind of I enjoy the competitive aspects of games. So for me, it's if I get beat, especially when you start out, it's really easy to be humble when you start out too, because like you are starting at 0 essentially, right? Or it's like you're the new player, so it doesn't feel bad when you lose, in my opinion. Whenever I've been in those situations, It's only to the point
Yeah.
where the only time ego grows is like, like when you've got to the point where you've like won a bunch, where like people are saying that you're a top player. Then at that point, then you might get afraid to lose. But in my case, I always just look at every loss or victory, and every time, again, like I'm taking notes and I'm just basically saying like, okay, what can I learn from this? Like, and the game's fun. Like, yeah.
So like,
I mean, I was pretty much prepared to lose the Kingdom Con game, and I was still having a blast. So,
it
if it wasn't
did actually. There was a point where it looked like he was going to put it away on that snapshot.
Oh yeah, and I knew the funny thing is that like after the first activation of the turn, I knew it was coming. Like I was basically, we were basically playing out an entire like whatever for 9 other activations to get to the point where he was going to try to kick that goal, and I was just hoping that Dirge in a 5+ to toughness was going to do it. Which I keep bringing that up, but that's like the most recent competitive experience I've had, as far as like any tournaments. So it's kind of what I harken back to when I think of like my emotions when I'm playing a really intense, like high stakes match, which was like, the finals match is probably the most high stakes thing I've played in Guild Ball. As far as like pressure to perform. But yeah, the game is fun, and even that format, even when I basically was waiting 9 activations to expecting to lose in a lot of cases. So yeah.
Hey, Blackblade, birthday wish. Yeah, me personally, like when the first kind of just blindly feeling around, and then I get bored and I go big. Let's see what this can do. Like I want a false sense of, hey, I forward the person really shows me something.
Yeah, I actually have an article that I kind of have on the back burner currently, but I wrote that was because one of the things I was trying to diagnose is I get into a lot of games, and I'm historically, I pick them when the game is new or newish, early in its life cycle. I tend to do competitively very well, and so I was kind of trying to pick my brains like, how did like that first ever 6v6 timed game of Guild Ball, I won. So I'm like, how did I get to the point where I won that game? Like my first game was a tournament, and I hadn't played a 6v6 game, haven't played on a clock, haven't played Fisherman. Like, how did I get to the point where I was being successful, like in that scenario? And how do I like, what are the things that I do? And I realized I actually do a lot of, like, before I ever play a game, I think I also just research a lot, like, and like I get a very good idea of how the game is played before I even put models on the table. So I think that helps me a lot. I'm less of a like, I very rarely start from zero, in a lot of cases, although that is like a fun, unique experience. But a game like Guild Ball, like I was so excited about it, and I didn't have anybody to play with at first. So what I did was, a lot of it was like I would go on YouTube and watch battle reports, and you really quickly learn all the gotchas in the battle reports, like before you ever put a model on the table. Like before I ever put a model on the table, I saw like, whatever it was, the Abattoir Away days with the guy that was playing. He was playing the Butchers against he picked a local like famous opponent or something like that in the local community, and he would play against like one of each faction, like for an episode, and then I think he switched like factions or whatever and moved along. But that was like one of the first series I kind of watched along with Guild Ball Informer and stuff. And I kind of saw like, like I learned about unpredictable movement because you got caught by that, and like I learned about like Shank's reach and like how Butchers play, and like I learned like all these kind of things that, so when I stepped on the table, like I wasn't getting gotcha'd as much, and I had like, even if I didn't know exactly how to execute it, like I could kind of like replicate some of the ideas behind it, and then that helped make me successful. One of the things I tried to do was in the Fisherman game of Abattoir Ways Day, he kicked off with Shark, and then Shark went in, stole the ball, shot a goal, legendaried, and then like dodged away. And I was like, that's really cool. So I tried to do that because I was playing an Alchemist player. and he had the ball on Midas, and I didn't know Midas had 5 toughness, so I floundered a bunch and then proceeded to like have the ball, but like then be surrounded by pretty much Alchemist players at that point. So yeah, that replication didn't work as well, but you know, like there's kind of things where it's like, but that still had the concept of me that like, oh, as a fisherman player, I can go get the ball and I can go score in the same activation. I can use dodges to disengage. Like melee reach is a big part of the game. Like there's all these kind of concepts that when you first get in the game, like, you know, I find that a lot of new players like the concept of how to position your models with reach and unpredictable movement and some of these other kind of abilities like just don't kind of pop up. So yeah, I feel I come very prepared to games usually. But yeah, so anyways, I'm probably gonna release that SoCal Guild Ball with some more stuff, but yeah.
They were asking me to evaluate stuff, and I was like, okay, well, this model they're played because they have early access to a basic stuff about the game. I think that's a skill. It's an important skill to pick up. You know, when you're evaluating new players to go on your team and that kind of stuff. Being able to act your playbook and know right result to pick a word of another. If you're going to do a on something, I would like that too, where you kind of teach people concepts of, you know, book, for example, look at the playbook. This way, because you can basic attacks, you're going to look at it might be capable of on things like stuff. So really cool thing as well.
Yeah, part of my exploration with the kind of what is the most powerful, or what is your opinion of the most powerful non-captain guild ball, like what is the weakest, it's just to kind of get a variety of perspectives from different, because like there's a lot of different skill gaps of players that when they respond, or like experience, right? Because like you may only have one faction, you may have never played against another faction, so just to kind of to pick up like, and then also the comments about the why, because the why is always important. Like, you know, you can just name a model, but like if you see a consistency in the why, or you see, like there's always interesting like aha things that pop up. They're like, oh, okay, like,
yeah,
you know, like, you know, maybe this player values like safety at like a premium, so like they view a model like Grayscales with 2-inch reach and unpredictable movement and stuff, and they go like, oh, okay, that's like, he's a pretty safe model, like that's why I really like him, and he has these other cool kick stats and where they go and all that kind of stuff. Like, so like I really like Grayscales. And then you have another player that looks at Grayscales and is like, well, you know, and like my experience, like I value like being able to like steal the ball, score in the same activation, like high, like long kick stats, like that kind of stuff. And Grayscales, like he has where they go and he has like ball gone, but like he's not necessarily like if you stack him with 4 influence, he's not as likely to go take the ball and score as like, you know, Shark or something. So like maybe I don't value him as much. I don't know. There's like different stuff like that where it's like two different perspectives, but one person being like, this is the best, this is my best, most powerful model in the game. Another person going like, I actually think he's pretty weak. Or in my opinion. And so it's this kind of like the what players value at different levels is an interesting aspect to me.
Yeah,
and one of the things,
and just to kind of re-describe that, the question might be what things pop out when they're looking at, that tells them, oh, this player is good. You know, what are things that they're looking at? Are they looking at? Maybe they're looking at damage output. Maybe they're looking at character plays, ranged character plays. Maybe they're looking at base stats, like, oh, well, you know, 16 boxes that's pretty solid. A number of things that are important, different coaches, and that's why some models weak, some models. So let's see. Armada Games, Michael. Hello, boyos. Callan, did you like my third pick for weakest?
I don't actually know if you could tell me what your third. I actually don't know specifically what your third pick for weakest was. So if you could tell me, then I'll be able to comment on it. There were some funny ones, like the engineers were put as one as a joke, I assume. And another like Salt. Even though I said non-mascot, Salt made it. I knew that if I put mascots, like either it would be a bunch of mascots because they're like designed to be weaker than normal players, or it would just be a bunch of salts. Like
In,
it would just be like, okay, there's
in
the
Mainspring.
yeah. I mean, Mainspring at least has the gimmick of like you send him in and he does something by exploding. Like after the first death, like he
You could
explodes and
blow
does
him
something,
up.
Like so, he becomes like the gimmick of like, okay, I can send in this exploding bomb, and it's a pretty fun trick. But yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, of course, you would be the one to pick Salt. Well, the funny part was about like, I mean, there'll be more in depth on this, but like, the funny part is that there was two very clear like front runners for like the two weakest models, and then everything else was like fairly even, or like players. It's just like really hard to pick a third model, which again, I think kind of goes back to the balancing of the game, where most models have like a kind of role where you can argue like in this like specific team, like I could take this model and it could be, I could feel good about it, or I could, in my mind it's competitive, where like I think some of the other models like people have just either like written off. The one that didn't come up that was surprising to me for the longest time, and maybe that's because like the hashtag has been made and more Mortician players are playing him, is Graves. Because when I joined the game, and again, another thing that I tell new players is like, even if I tell you something, like make sure you understand it yourself. And like, don't just like, if you like a model, play the model, like figure it out for yourself. Don't like just listen to someone and say it's bad and then don't play it. And Graves is one of the ones where when I came in, like every forum thing that says like he's bad, he's not worth it, he's one influence, like you can't, like this model like can't be played competitively, he's a joke, they need to buff him. And everybody was waiting for veteran Graves, and they released veteran Graves, and people are like, I don't know about veteran Graves. Like, he's pretty cool. Vioswarm has to be good. There's like all this and buts. And then now, like, Graves doesn't even show up in this weakest player list. Like, I've been playing him recently. I think he's actually pretty good, especially in the specific matchups, especially. So I think the other part of it is like, one is like, what are the people that are responding? Like, what's their meta? Like what's the level skill of their meta? Like all sorts of factors can come into like what is the weakest player. But knowing the whys of what they value again is kind of the biggest piece that comes out of it. But I was surprised we didn't see Graves. The top two, just for reference, are Harry the Hat and Harmony, which when I told you Harmony, you were in disagreement. So I actually would like to know, like as a Masons player, especially one that's been playing Hammer recently, like sell me on why Harmony is not one of the weakest players.
Okay, so I guess at some point I thought we were going to do we can do it now. It's fine. Is what I'm right. Let's see. Let me come back here.
Okay, what's up? I hear you now.
So we're assuming season when we say that.
We're assuming what?
Harmony.
Yes, not veteran Harmony. Season 1 Harmony.
Okay. As a Hammer player, yeah, she's not built for not honor. Right? And that's probably one people like to pick on her is a model that does rely on having, and to a lesser degree she relies on other players like Brick that can give her stuff. where action is really bad right now. So I'm just gonna slow down. Come back, I hope.
Yeah, I'll turn off my video or whatever in case that's popping up on there and slowing stuff down.
Okay.
But you sound better now, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
you're
yes,
talking
it
about
is
honor.
true.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's true. Um, even consider her a reasonable player, you do need to field her with honor. And to a lesser degree, you will want other specific players like Brick. And it is also true that she is regarded as a traditional player, right? Good. What I say to that is, those are good situations for her to be in. I don't find that she's now the way I look at weak non-captain, non-mascot players is if their play style is it becomes it's or contribute enough in a squad under ideal situations, right? So with Harmony, you have a player who is somewhat remarkable. Hearing weird audio issues from Octa. Oh. The let me chime in here.
Have a good night, man. Signing off. So, anyways, you might be able to get through this.
Okay.
So I think the general gist, if I get it correct, right, is you're saying like Harmony, like optimally played, is a very remarkable player. Like if you take her and you have like her within 4 inches of honor, and you would look at her card and be like, okay, she's a 6'8", 6 attack, 4/6 kick, defensive 5, 2 influence generating model with sighting blow, and potentially a 5/1 model with Brick nearby. Let's say, like you would be ecstatic. You'd be like, yes, this is like an amazing, remarkable model. And what most people are seeing is when they just look at her stats raw, in the case where you're not near honor and you get a 6'8", 3 tack, 2/6 kick, a model that isn't even like a good striker away from her honor, you're like, okay, ew, that's scary to a lot of people.
And you can actually build the
thing of answer, but yeah. No, go ahead.
In my experience, you can actually build attack around her and your opponent's to her, right? Because you have some opponents that see her on the board and go, oh, look, there's a 10 health model with conditional armor. And pick on her. That's a, 10, right? Model. And so I'm going to Harmony around. She's a liability. Other players say, conversely, I don't really know what this player does, and my opponent hasn't touched her. These are the things I do. Because I won't even put her turns and she just kind of just low. Wow, my connection is terrible.
Yeah, it hates you. It's basically like, it's like, you know what? I'm not gonna let you defend. I think you're right. It's just like, I don't want you to defend Harmony. It's like they're like, yeah,
I'm telling you,
not allowed
we
to
have
do
to
it.
do a separate.
Nope. Nice try, guy.
I do have a lot to say in this regard. I have a lot to say about Harmony because I feel that she may be out of the box, but there is what you can potentially do. It's like people are actually leaving the feed.
Yeah, I think it's just a bad night, man. I think it's just the internet. The internet
I
gods
think
have
we're
smited us.
just gonna call it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna before I sign off. So already, come check us out, Strategicon this weekend at the Hilton LAX. Dave's running demos Friday night. We're running our tournament Saturday, and then always on Facebook. And oh yeah, check out Paddlecast. So
Yeah, I'll more videos soon to come and more articles for SoCal Guild Ball. Soon TM.
Yeah.
I all I heard was hopefully, so well all right, well I'm out, man. Have a good rest of your birthday, even though the internet hates you. At least the internet connection hates you. But I still like you. And I hope you have a good night, and can't wait to see you this weekend.